The night shift began in the brittle chill of October. The West Hollow Asylum stood half dark, with only a few remaining wings still powered. Most of the building had been sealed off, awaiting demolition. In the small nurse's station, a flickering fluorescent light cast sickly hues across mold-stained walls. Evelyn Shaw, a veteran nurse with 15 years at West Hollow, sat hunched over her desk, reviewing the patient list for their final night. Donna Reed, her younger car worker, was brewing coffee in a sputtering old machine that wheezed with each drop, while Frank Mills, the night guard, patrolled the corridors, his shadow occasionally sliding across the frosted glass, warped under the pale, cold light. Evelyn turned to the last page. Amid the neatly printed lines, she froze. A new entry, handwritten in fresh red ink, bled slightly into the paper. Patient 42, room D-13. She frowned. There was no such patient in the current files, and Ward D had been sealed for 10 years, ever since the fire that claimed 7 lives. She checked the archives again. No name, no record, only a single loose sheet, tucked between folders, yellowed and stiff, stained as if by old blood. 4 shaky words scrawled across it. Return for observation. A chill rippled down Evelyn's spine. Outside, wind hissed through the gaps in the windows, its rasping pitch almost forming words. She closed the folder and looked up at Donna. For a moment, her co-worker's silhouette flickered in the unsteady blue light, fading, then reappearing, distorted. Frank entered, bringing with him the smell of damp air and dust. He set his flashlight on the desk, muttering about faulty wiring and old circuits. When Evelyn asked about Ward D, he only shrugged. That section had been locked for years, strictly off limits. But as if to contradict him, a faint click echoed down the hall. The corridor lights flickered to life one by one, stretching toward the far end, where an old, peeling red sign still hung. Ward D, the lights sputtered, pulsing like a dying signal. The 3 exchanged silent glances. The clock struck 12, each chime dragging through the air like a warning. Steam rose faintly from the untouched coffee, and from the end of the hall, where the light trembled and went dark, the rusted iron door of room D-13 shuddered once, softly, as if something inside had just knocked back. The lights in Ward D flickered like the faltering pulse of a dying body. Evelyn stood at the threshold, hearing the faint hiss of leaking current above her head. The air smelled of mildew and old disinfectant, coating her breath with the metallic tang of rust. Donna followed close behind, her flashlight trembling in her grip, while Frank took up the rear, his security badge glinting dully in the unsteady glow. The hallway stretched long and narrow, curving just enough that its end was swallowed by dark. On either side were rows of patient rooms, each door sealed with faded evidence tape from 10 years ago. The letters nearly gone, the yellowed adhesive clinging stubbornly to the wood. The tiles beneath their feet were stained and uneven, marked here and there by faint shoe prints, as if someone had walked through recently. A bulb above them flared bright, then burst into darkness, leaving a scorched imprint on Evelyn's eyes. A second later, the next light flicked on, then off, then another, and another, forming a stuttering sequence down the corridor, as though something was showing them the way. Evelyn halted. Footsteps echoed ahead, slow, measured, steady, blending with the soft dripping of a broken vent pipe. She turned, but only Donna and Frank were behind her. The steps persisted, drawing nearer. They didn't echo from their own. They followed half a beat after, like a warped reflection of their movements. Donna held her breath, raising the beam of her flashlight forward. Dust danced in the cone of light, revealing a small metal sign fixed to the wall. D-13. I know how we... 13. The bulb above that door flickered violently, flashing white-hot before plunging into blackness again and again, each pulse accompanied by a low, unnatural hum. Frank stepped forward, testing the handle. The rusted lock resisted, squealing as he twisted it, then stopped. Before he could speak, a faint click sounded from within, and the latch slid open on its own, slow and deliberate. The door cracked ajar, revealing a slit of darkness so thick it seemed solid. A cold breath escaped from inside, laced with the acrid scent of burnt flesh. The flashlight beam slipped through the gap, catching a glint of dull metal, perhaps a bed frame, perhaps a restraint bar. Evelyn could feel it then, the weight of something watching, still and patient, waiting for them to cross the threshold. The ceiling lights flickered again, then all at once flared bright, focusing every beam toward room D-13. The corridor glowed pale blue, every shadow bending inward, drawn to that single point. Frank swallowed hard and stepped back. Evelyn said nothing. Her gaze stayed fixed on the narrow opening of the door. From somewhere inside came a thin, airy breath, like wind brushing past a hollow tube. Then, from the depths of that darkness, came a low, grinding sound, metal dragging across the floor, inch by inch, in slow, deliberate rhythm. Anal show. Dimi. No one spoke as Evelyn crossed the threshold. The air inside was thick, colder than the hallway, as if time itself had stopped here. Dust covered everything, yet there were no cobwebs, as though someone still visited the room from time to time. The acrid scent of burnt fabric and chemicals clung to every breath. At the center stood a metal bed, its frame intact, the mattress sunken in the shape of a body lying flat. Evelyn stared, sensing movement. The hollow seemed to breathe, rising and falling gently with each faint draft that slipped through the cracked door. Across the wall were deep claw marks, carved as though someone had tried to climb up, only to be dragged back down. Donna's flashlight swept the surface and froze on a line of words etched into the blackened paint, nearly lost beneath smoke stains. Don't check the list again. The sentence locked both women in silence. Frank stayed at the doorway, refusing to step inside, his eyes scanning the floor as if searching for something unseen. He murmured, his voice hoarse, distant, but Evelyn only heard the low hiss of air. Out in the corridor, the lights flickered rhythmically, beating faster, like a rising pulse. Donna turned her beam toward the corner. An old mirror hung crooked on the wall, its frame mottled with rust. 3 figures stared back, trembling in the glass. But among them stood a 4th silhouette, motionless, faceless, a solid patch of shadow. Evelyn spun around. No one was there. When she looked back, the mirror had cracked. She moved closer to the bed. Beneath the sagging mattress lay a single sheet of paper, crisp and white, untouched by dust. The words were cleanly typed. Patient 42, admitted 10 years after death. The date below matched tonight. Evelyn's grip tightened. Her hands went numb, her pulse hammering wildly. Frank stepped backward into the hall, muttering to himself. He said he would check the power system, find out why the lights were behaving this way. But before he could return, the hallway went black. His footsteps echoed, fading, then stopped altogether. Donna startled, calling after him. No answer, only a hollow reply, stretching far away like a voice from within a tunnel. Then, the intercom crackled to life. A distorted tape began to play. A slow, monotone male voice. Dr. Parker, the physician once assigned to Ward D. Patient 42 refuses discharge, insists he's still alive, continues to occupy room D-13 despite confirmation of death. Evelyn's stomach twisted. The air thickened. Everything seemed to move in sluggish rhythm. Donna approached the small window at the far wall, wiping the fogged glass. Only two reflections stared back, Evelyn's and her own. The fourth figure was gone. A sharp screech split the silence. The metal bed shifted, dragging across the floor with a teeth-grating scrape, leaving a pale streak of dust behind. Evelyn stumbled back. Something moved beneath the bed, shapeless, just the shadow of motion. Donna's flashlight went dead. The room plunged into complete darkness. For a few seconds there was only ragged breathing, then the faint, unmistakable sound of fabric sliding. When the light flickered on again, the mattress hollow had deepened, as if the unseen body had sat up. Evelyn backed toward the door, heart hammering. Behind her, Dr. Parker's voice droned on through the static. Observation extended until the next shift. She didn't dare look back, but she felt the cold breath on her neck, close, deliberate. As she stepped out, the file in her hand vanished. Only a new smear of red ink remained on the wall, scrawled over the old warning. You checked again. Nini, Zira, how high? The corridor of Ward D was now swallowed in darkness. Only the wavering beam of Evelyn's flashlight cut through it, gliding over the torn, half-peeled seals on each forgotten door. There was no sign of Frank. No sound except the warped echo of her own footsteps, and Donna's bending strangely, as if bouncing up from beneath the floor. The air was heavy with the mingled stench of smoke and disinfectant. Every breath scraped like frost through her throat. Donna trailed close behind, her face pale, eyes wide and glossy, the whites catching the trembling light. They tried to find their way back to the main wing, but the hallway seemed endless. The doors on either side repeated in a looping sequence. D7, D9, D11, then D7 again, as if they were walking in a circle with no exit. From far away came footsteps, slow, heavy, deliberate. Evelyn froze, straining to tell them apart from her own. These weren't echoes. They were approaching. Each step landed with purpose on the old tile, drawing closer. Donna's hand trembled as she raised her light. The beam caught on something, a faint, tall silhouette at the end of the hall. It didn't move, didn't breathe. Its features were lost to shadow, only the outline visible, blacker than the dark around it. The light blinked out. Total blackness. When it flickered back, the figure was gone, but where it had stood, a bloody handprint smeared across the wall, trailing down to the edge of room D-13's doorframe. Evelyn grabbed Donna's wrist, trying to pull her away, but the door creaked open once more. The room beyond glowed faintly, a bluish-white haze spilling out like fog. For an instant, Evelyn thought she saw someone lying on the bed, a body curled beneath a thin white sheet. A sharp hiss filled the air. Then Donna was yanked backward, screaming, her hand stretching out, fingers clawing desperately for Evelyn's. The flashlight beam caught the moment her arm vanished into the darkness of the doorway. The door slammed shut with a thunderous crack that shook the ceiling. Evelyn lunged forward, pounding at the handle, but the lock had fused. No seam, no gap, no give. From within came the dragging of feet, the rasp of metal on concrete, then silence. The entire ward went still, save for the distant, failing hum of the backup generator. Evelyn backed away, heart racing, eyes locked on the door. The intercom buzzed to life again, warped and grainy, carrying Dr. Parker's disembodied voice. Patient 42, observed returning. The room is occupied again. Evelyn's grip on the flashlight tightened until her knuckles whitened. The darkness around her seemed to thicken, pressing inward like something alive. She turned, searching for an exit, but the hallway had changed. No more doors, no signs. Only one direction remained, leading back toward the nurse's station. Each step echoed, and with it came another, perfectly synchronized behind her. She stopped. It stopped. She moved again. It followed. She didn't dare look back. Only one thought pulsed through her mind. Get out before the shift ends. At the far end of the hall, she saw them, Frank's shoes. One overturned, one upright, a dark red pool spreading between them, stretching in a trail that led straight back to room D-13. Evelyn stumbled, nearly falling, then broke into a run. The intercom still hissed above, replaying the same command on a loop. Return for observation. Return, return. Each word felt like a footstep behind her, closer each time. When she reached the nurse's station, the overhead lights flickered once, then died. Silence filled the space so completely that she could hear her heartbeat, uneven, distorted. In the faint reflection of the glass panel ahead, she caught her own face, and just behind it, the blurred outline of another figure standing perfectly still. Nim, Banyan. The night duty room was swallowed by silence. Every sound from the corridor behind had vanished, leaving only the faint flicker of the desk lamp. Evelyn stood frozen in the doorway, cold sweat trailing down her neck. The room looked exactly as it had when they left, but colder, stiller, as if someone had been standing there for hours and stepped away just seconds before she entered. On the desk, the patient logbook lay open. The printed names sat still, except for the last 3 lines. Donna Reed, crossed out in red ink. Frank Mills, crossed out in red ink. Evelyn's gaze fell to the next blank space below them. Fresh crimson letters appeared, still glistening wet. Shaw, Evelyn, transferred, room D-13. She staggered back instinctively, her mind blank. The door behind her rattled, a cold draft slipping in, making the paper on the desk flutter as if it were breathing. Evelyn reached out to rip the list away, but the page clung tightly to the surface, fused like it had been printed into the wood. The red ink was still wet, smearing beneath her fingertips. The desk lamp flickered, then burned brighter. On the opposite wall, the duty schedule board fell down, revealing a faded photograph behind it. 3 night shift nurses, Evelyn, Donna, and Frank, standing in front of Ward D. The photo had yellowed with age, but in the background, a 4th figure stood faintly behind them, its face erased white. Footsteps echoed in the corridor, steady, deliberate, moving closer. Evelyn rushed to lock the door, but the knob turned loosely, slipping through her grasp. The steps stopped right outside. Silence. 1 second. 2, ooh. Then the intercom above crackled alive. and Dr. Parker's distorted voice came through one last time. "Third shift complete. Patient has been readmitted." The light went out. In the darkness, Evelyn felt the cold rising behind her and a slow, steady breath brushing the back of her neck. She turned, but saw nothing. The patient list on the desk glowed faintly, the red ink spreading outward like blood soaking into the paper. Then, everything went silent. The next morning, when the cleaning staff arrived, the duty room was empty. On the desk, a cold cup of coffee sat beside the logbook, a smear of red ink bleeding toward the edge of the page. None of the 3 night shift nurses were ever found again. The new supervisor later opened the hospital records for a final review. In the list of patients, among the old, faded names, a new entry had appeared, written in fresh, still wet crimson. Patient 42, Shaw, Evelyn. Under status, it read only 2 words. Admitted permanent. Neun Pashi.